morning. How are you?
All right, and yourself.
I'm fabulous. It's another Saturday morning. Let's see. And I'm all over the place as usual. Okay, let me get rid of the banner because we're here. We're here. All righty. All righty. All right. So, how's it going?
Oh, good.
Good.
Just been
Good.
busy.
Sir, tell me all about it. All right, now, have you gone back to work?
Yeah, I started back to work like last month.
Did you, sir?
Mm,
Sir, sir.
listen, I had to because they were on some extra stuff.
Okay, that seems like a little tea right there. Okay, I just felt
Mm.
all of that in my whole spirit. You know, I can recognize tea a mile away. So, okay, let's get started. Welcome, everybody, to the Saturday morning tea where we discuss health information, news, education, certification tips, entrepreneurship, and all the things that come up in our little minds, in our big minds. No little, big minds. I'm Clarice Warner. I'm the Girl with the Pearls, the founder and education director of the Professional Reimbursement Network, LLC, where coding education is key. And let me just ask you a question, especially since we're at the beginning of the year and folks are making all kinds of goals and resolutions and things. Do you know what it takes to be a certified marketable medical coder? Well, before I introduce my co host, let me share with you the information on a free email course on how to become a certified marketable medical coder. Are you interested in medical coding, but not sure where to start and scared of wasting time and resources? Let me help you with the right steps to become a certified marketable medical coder. Learn more at bit.ly/5stepscoder. All right, all right. So if you are in Clubhouse, feel free to click the link if you are interested in getting more information about the 5 steps to become a certified marketable medical coder. If you are joining via YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, or checking out the replay, you can also check the video description for the link. It's there. Might be some other stuff in there that may tickle your fancy as well, but that link is there as well. So joining me today is my co-host, Mr. Jesse, the registered trademark, the coding nurse. So, sir, introduce yourself and tell the folks all about you.
Good morning and happy New Year to everybody. I'm the coding nurse coming out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I created the coding nurse in 2020 during the pandemic after being in healthcare for over 2 decades, and I help nurses and other clinicians who have um, clinical background experience transition into the wonderful world of HIM.
Look at you, 2 decades, throwing it out there like that. Okay, I love it. I love it. And how is all that working for you?
It's going. I started a new class Wednesday, this
Okay,
past Wednesday. So,
okay.
in the beginning, everybody's excited. It's all fresh and new.
It's
Next
all
week, we'll tell the
fun.
story. So I told him, be prepared because it wears off quickly.
Until you crack the whip. Wait a
Yes.
minute. Well, look at you, not even missing a beat, sir. Not even missing a beat. Now you doing things that you're supposed to be doing. I'm just asking.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, okay, okay.
Listen, I told him, I ain't never coming down this road again.
Okay, so we got to make sure that you are doing what you're supposed to do to optimize your health and make sure that you're with us. So yes, okay, I got to check in on my friend. Got to make sure my
Mhm.
friend doing what he's supposed to be doing. Hey Nicole, hey Trisha, welcome, welcome. So today, let's just well before I go into all of that, um, if you are on Clubhouse and you want to join in and add to the conversation, just raise your hand. Don't be shy. Your opinion matters, and of course, is welcomed here. For those who are on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, you all know what to do. You can use that chat. Hey, Tasha, you can use the chat to place your question or ask your comment or have dialogue, because we have a lot of dialogue in the chat. So
Absolutely.
feel free as I prepare for the future. Make sure you place that cue first so we know it is a question for us and we don't miss it. So let's get into it. So for those of us who are just joining today or watching the replay, we are talking about the rules are the rules, right? Right?
Right.
This is all about Medicare Advantage versus the physician. So let me give you a little background first with where all this came from, and then I will also give a little background on Medicare Advantage if you didn't know. So let's start with where all this came from. And why are we talking about this today? Because it seems to be a very hot topic. A hot topic. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. I got a delay. There we go. Okay. So on LinkedIn, one of the people that I follow and listen to from time to time, because I see his articles and I hear him all the time on what is it? Rack Monitor, I believe it's the program that they have on um, Monday mornings. And so and I subscribe there, so I get a lot of information from there. So I got this post late. It was late last year. Look, I say that like it was a long time ago, but a couple weeks ago. And it talked about he gave his opinion about some things. So I'll quickly go through this with you all and see where you are. And then there was another piece that I want to actually add to it too. Recently, he posted some additional components. So he says it's really easy to pile on the Medicare Advantage plans for their HCC boosting activities because we know they do it. In fact, a physician colleague recently received an offer to work doing in-home evaluations of Medicare Advantage. And so the MA is for Medicare Advantage patients for an insurer where the physician sitting at the patient's kitchen table will have a list of diagnoses and will simply be asked to confirm their presence or absence. No lab tests available, no ability to order any. There is clearly a lot of wrong with this. Can a doctor confirm diabetic neuropathy or nephropathy in the patient's home? Do they have the ability to stage a cancer or even determine if it is active or in remission or cured? So that's one piece of it. But in the OIG audit, Cigna, and there was an audit, and we'll talk about that too, raises a valid point. If they are simply reporting the ICD-10 diagnosis codes that the patient's physicians reported when the physician submitted a claim for office and hospital visits, is the MA plan obligated to confirm the veracity of every single diagnosis on every single patient? We know the ICD-10 codes do not affect the physician's Enem Code selection. I beg to differ. But anyway, so unless they are in an ACO employed by an insurer or health system with MA contracts or have another arrangement that links their pay or performance to the codes. Picking the most specific ICD-10 code to optimize the patient's RAF score is low on the list of priorities, if it is on the list at all. If the patient had an MI last year and that diagnosis is on the list, why search for the diagnoses for the past history of MI when you can just click the MI one? Okay, let me breathe. And the last thing a physician wants is to be required to send the MA plan a copy of every note for every patient, especially with the upcoming fee reductions from Medicare, so the MA plan can verify the diagnoses. MA plans with their prior authorization requirements and limited networks are already a hassle for physicians. Adding more uncompensated work for many physicians may be enough to get them to rethink accepting such patients. Then he asks, how should the OIG balance the obligations of the MA plan to ensure accurate code submission with adding costly and time-consuming requirements to physician practices. So, and before I go into some background, did you want to weigh in now or you want to weigh in later?
Um, I'll wait.
Okay. So then he says, because there were 34, as you see, oh wait, I didn't scoot it. Yeah, 34 comments on this, and they ran the gamut. They went left, they went right, they went up, they went down. So then he says, the discussion has gone a bit off topic. This is really about the obligation of an MA plan to validate every diagnosis submitted on a claim by a physician prior to reporting to CMS that code as an HCC. Sure, lots of reasons the doctor should only submit valid codes, but the reality is that it does not always happen. And again, the compliance person in me was all over the place. So I have to make sure I balance both the hats. So let's talk a little bit about this audit. Okay, I hope I can do this right.
Okay, so while you're pulling that up,
Okay.
Clarice, I have been telling you for the longest, you need to get into risk adjustment. If you get into risk adjustment with your passion for compliance, your hair will look like mine. Because I'm telling you, these people are cutting up and carrying, and they have been doing so since I got into coding in 2014 in risk adjustment.
Yes, you have been telling me this forever. You have. I do. I should.
First of all, I recommend everybody, like, risk adjustment is such an easy path into medical coding that a lot of people miss it because nobody advertises it. All you hear is the CPC, the CPC, the CPC, CCS. You don't have to have any of that to do risk adjustment. And risk adjustment coding is everywhere. It's the best kept secret in coding because nobody talks about it. You got to be in it to really know about it. And I'll tell everybody to go into risk adjustment. But anyway, for you, you would have a field day.
Well, ultimately, I mean, the goal was to put together to extend my business into kind of a risk adjustment firm. So while I may not necessarily be the risk adjustment guru, I would hire a team of folks who are and proceed from there. So that's the goal. And we're getting there slowly but surely. We're ticking those off so that we can get those contracts with the various organizations and provide those risk adjustments. See, we doing it a different way.
Because I'm more than willing to help you.
Plus, I know you are.
I know some really, really good risk adjustment coders.
Look, we putting all of this on the map so we can chill. We can float and we can have we can eliminate some of the gatekeeping that I see that happens in a lot of things. Ooh. And so I'm eliminating gatekeepers and middlemen. So yeah, keep it's going.
I have a gatekeeping story that I have to tell you, but we got to talk offline.
Oh God, here we go. Definitely. See, I love it. Okay, so there was an audit that the OIG performed in December, and they released this information December 22nd about a Medicare Advantage compliance audit of specific diagnosis codes that Cigna HealthSpring of Tennessee submitted to CMS. And so they gave a lot of information about what they found. They looked at 10 high-risk covered groups that was selected diagnosis code that Cigna submitted to CMS. But before I get to even this part, let's go back to like what is all of this about for real? Now, the objective of these types of audits from the OIG is to determine whether selected diagnosis codes that Cigna submitted to CMS for use for CMS's risk adjustment program comply with federal requirements. Period. Let's just start there. That's the whole purpose of these types of audits. So then let's talk about this whole Medicare Advantage program. So the Medicare Advantage program offers beneficiaries managed care options by allowing them to enroll in a private health care plan rather than having their care covered through Medicare's traditional fee-for-service program. So your traditional Medicare that you think of when you think of folks that are on Medicare. So they have some options. So beneficiaries who enroll in these plans are known as enrollees. And to provide benefits to enrollees, CMS contracts with the Medicare Advantage organizations, which in turn contract with providers, be it hospitals and physicians. So you see the chain, you got the physicians, the providers who contract with the MA organizations, who contract with CMS. All in all, under these Medicare Advantage programs, CMS makes advance payments each month. Can I say that again? Advance payments each month to Medicare Advantage organizations for the expected costs of providing health care coverage to enrollees. These payments are not adjusted to reflect the actual costs that the organization incurred for providing benefits and services. Thus, the Medicare Advantage organizations will either realize profits if their actual costs of providing coverage are less than the CMS payments, or incur losses if their costs exceed the CMS payments. Now, it said for 2020, and I guess that's the most recent data that they have, CMS paid Medicare Advantage organizations $317.1 billion, which represents 34% of all Medicare payments for that year. Let that sit in there in your spirit for a minute, just for a few minutes. Okay. So the risk adjustment program, federal requirements, remember, this is all to validate whether they're following the rules of the federal requirements, mandate that payments to Medicare Advantage organizations be based on the anticipated cost of providing Medicare benefits to a given enrollee, and in doing so, also account for variations in the demographic characteristics and health status of each enrollee. CMS uses two principal components to calculate the risk adjustment payment that it will make to the Medicare Advantage organization for a enrollee. A base rate that CMS sets using bid amounts received from the Medicare Advantage organization. So they even have choices. And then you have the risk score for that enrollee. So the base rate means that before the start of each year, each Medicare Advantage organization submits bids to CMS that reflect the Medicare Advantage organization's estimate of the monthly revenue required to cover an enrollee with an average risk profile. CMS compares each bid to a specific benchmark amount for each geographic area to determine the base rate that a Medicare Advantage organization is paid for each of its enrollees. Then you have the risk score. A risk score is a relative measure that reflects the additional or reduced costs that each enrollee is expected to incur compared with the costs incurred by enrollees on average. CMS calculates risk scores based on an enrollee's health status, discussed below, and demographic characteristics, such as the enrollee's age and gender. This process results in an individualized risk score for each enrollee, which CMS calculates annually. Let's see. So as part of the risk adjustment program, let me say this. Okay. To determine an enrollee's health status for purposes of calculating the risk score, CMS uses diagnoses that the enrollee receives from acceptable data sources, including certain physicians and hospitals. Okay. Medicare Advantage organizations collect the diagnosis codes from providers based on information documented in the medical records and submit these codes to CMS. The Medicare Advantage organization is relying on the data and information from the providers. Once they get that stuff, then they send that information to CMS. Y'all see the chain? Y'all see the chain? Okay. CMS then maps certain diagnosis codes on the basis of similar clinical characteristics and severity and cost implications into hierarchical condition categories, or HCCs. Y'all know we just said this the whole time. HCCs. Each HCC has a factor, which is a numerical value assigned to it for use in each enrollee's risk score. So, as part of the risk adjustment program, CMS consolidates certain HCCs into related disease groups. I know y'all familiar with that, especially if you're coding in the inpatient world. It's like DRG-ish. Within each of these groups, CMS assigns an HCC for only the most severe manifestation of a disease in a related disease group. Thus, if the Medicare Advantage organizations submit diagnosis codes for an enrollee that map to more than one of the HCCs in a related disease group, only the most severe, they're giving you an example, an advantage, only the most severe HCC will be used in determining the enrollee's risk score. Let's see. Then they talk about risk, if they have combinations, blah, blah, blah. The risk adjustment program is prospective. Specifically, CMS uses the diagnosis codes that the enrollee received for 1 year, known as the service year, to determine HCCs and calculate risk scores for the following calendar year, known as the payment year. Thus, an enrollee's risk score does not change for the year in which a diagnosis is made. Instead, the risk score changes for the entirety of the year after the diagnosis has been made. Further, the risk score calculation is an additive process. An HCC factor and with applicable disease interaction factors accumulate. An enrollee's risk score increases, and the monthly risk adjustment payment to the Medicare Advantage organization also increases. So in this way, the risk adjustment program compensates Medicare Advantage organizations for the additional risk of providing coverage to enrollees expected to require more health care resources. Okay, so that's setting the table, y'all. That's setting the table. I done put the napkins, the plates, the forks, the spoons, all the glasses, all of the things. And we got a real nice, pretty spread on the table. Now, let's talk about this particular case here. So this particular case for Cigna basically determined that they now need to pay back $5.9 million in overpayments for 2016 and 2017 because there were several, I think, does it say it in this little? Yeah, they originally had 279 cases that were sampled, and it was determined that 195 of them had some errors, meaning that Cigna, the medical records that Cigna provided did not support the diagnosis codes. And so it resulted in overpayments. Cigna had something to say. They went back and forth and was like, wait a minute, we don't believe in, what is there? Everybody says the one thing, what is it? Oh, the standards for data accuracy, coding, and documentation requirements, the audit methodology, how you extrapolate, so on and so forth. But anyway, they came back with their own thoughts about the recommendations, and they did find that there were some that were reset. So it went to 201 of the it went from 201 to 195. So 195 was the actual number that they settled on. So it was 201, I'm sorry, at first. And now it's 195. And then the money went from $6.3 million to $5.9 million that they now owe. Now, what gets me is, again, if you go deeper into the audit report, and they talk about what they looked at. And the 10 risk areas, a high risk diagnosis. We've seen these before. Acute stroke, acute heart attack, acute stroke and acute heart attack combination, major depressive disorder, and an embolism, vascular claudication. Now these right here, I for the life of me, I don't get these. Lung cancer, breast cancer, colon cancer, prostate cancer.
I can tell you why.
Okay, help me help y'all. Okay, so that's setting the table. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of all of this. Okay, go ahead, sir.
I can tell you why, because I have seen cancer is misdiagnosed in outpatient all of the time, and it's because the providers or people in their office don't do their due diligence. They don't even, because if you when you read the notes, they'll say lung cancer. Then when you get into the plan under lung cancer, it says followed by oncology. What does that mean? Does this mean this person is still receiving active treatment? Has this person completed active treatment 3 months ago, 2 months ago? Are they on, if they have breast cancer, are they on tamoxifen? If they're on tamoxifen, is it prophylactic or is it to treat cancer?
Mm-hmm.
So it's that level of detail that is missing.
Mm-hmm.
And what oftentimes should be a history of code becomes an active code. And that's what happens. And you even see it, I even see it in inpatient. But when you read the note clearly, it says history of. But now that they have, because of AI and this computer assisted coding, they suggest the active code.
We all over the place. Okay, we about to hit it all.
And when it comes to active stroke and active heart attacks, we know goodness well nobody in outpatient is having an active stroke or an active heart attack.
Exactly.
Now, the acute embolism is a little tricky, because for an acute embolism, there is a time after diagnosis that is considered acute, because I think I can never remember, but I know it's 6. It's either 6 months or 6 weeks.
I think it's 6 weeks. But there's you have that guideline. You have that guidance to tell you during this time frame, this is the code that you need to use. So my thing is, because with Dr. Hirsch, and he's going on and on about the provide. First of all, it's not, well, let me just start there. It's not the provider's job to actually assign the code. It's the provider's job to accurately document the information in the medical record for the coder then to assign the appropriate code. Secondly, ultimately, at the end of the day, a claim goes out the door. And I tell providers this all the time, even when I'm talking to them, when I've done some audits and reviews, or even providing education. At the end of the day, sir and ma'am, you are attesting to the accuracy of the information on this claim for this patient on this data service that we're sending to you. So when they give you that money,
this is passion fruit herbal tea, by the way.
Look at the tea is in the room. So when they give you that money, you done said everything is correct, and trusted and believing that everything is correct. Now, you personally, provider, don't have to know this information. Your job is to make sure you got somebody on your team who does. Your job is to make sure that somebody is providing you the information. Hey, this documentation isn't clear. Somebody, you might want to tighten this up so that it can clearly state what is happening. Now, you provide. Go ahead.
Let me I had to do the church finger.
Wait a minute, because I was going in. Look.
But the problem is, when you do that, when they have people who say this is how it has to be documented, they get mad. They get upset with the person because they think you're messing up the money. It has happened to me countless times. I worked at a place that is now being investigated by CMS. When I first got there, oh my God, they was taking me around like I was Little Lord Fauntleroy. Oh, he's, a nurse, he's a coder, he's going to help us do this, help us do that.
God.
Well, when I got finished telling them what was wrong and what they can't do, they literally tried to change my entire job. From here I was hired to be a coding and compliance auditor. They completely tried to change my job to a production coder. So
Again, so in those instances, when you get the opportunity to sit across the table or sit across the room, usually, hopefully, you sitting across the table so they can look at their stuff and look at your stuff and have these conversations. Show them, look, you all had a choice, especially if you're in a small practice with this physician. Now, if you're in a larger practice or you're in a hospital system that you're dealing with, the hospital system kind of made the choice for you because they're the ones that set these contracts with these Medicare Advantage organizations. So you got these Medicare Advantage organizations. We talked about this 2 weeks ago, dangling all these carrots to these beneficiaries. And rightfully so, because folks was making money left and right. Did y'all hear what I said? How they getting paid? Did I hear that they put this price above? They pay them a month in advance. If they don't make that money, then they gain that money. If they did, then they lose. They incur some losses. I'm not a gambling woman. I'm really not. But I would put it all on that they're making sure they're getting that they're incurring some gains on this process. I mean, yeah, they may have a few folks that, hey, it turned left and they had to expend a lot more resources, but I bet for the most part, they don't. And the reason why you know that is because I heard some little lady tell me, oh, my insurance company, they giving me $75 a month for groceries. They're providing all kinds of incentives for these people to be on these Medicare Advantage plans. Okay, but before we get there, and Tasha and everybody with comments, I'm gonna promise you I'm gonna get to y'all.
Yes.
Because y'all got a lot of stuff. And yeah, look, I feel like we're gonna be here for a minute today. But anyway, again, at the end of the day, these physicians, first of all, you can't be mad. Y'all signed up with it. Either you signed up with the organization and you knew what it was, or you signed up with, you became a contract, or you signed up with the Medicare Advantage contractor and you knew what that was. You know this game. The rules are the rules. Don't get mad when you get caught up in the rules. You had a responsibility. Your responsibility was to make sure, one, that you're treating your patient, that you're having these conversations with your patient, that you're practicing and providing the care for these patients, so you know your patients well enough to make sure that you're documenting the stuff appropriately, that you're not just copy, cut, and pasting and making this whole balloon note that means absolutely nothing to folks. So then when the person who is supposed to then code that, they have the information, the correct information to do it. Now you got your money on the front end, do your job so you can keep your money on the back end. Yes, sir.
Once again, me personally, I feel sorry for providers because it really depends on where you work. That's just like, I feel sorry for some people who have mothers and fathers that they have. I just feel sorry because you just ain't have a chance.
You ain't have a chance.
And that's how I feel about providers, because I have worked places where the most problematic provider orients all of the new providers. So he teaches them all of their bad habits, all of his bad habits, and the coding directors are afraid to take him on because the medical directors are not going to reel him in because he sees 50 patients a day. Okay, well, you can see 50 patients a day because you're problematic AF.
Exactly.
And you're not doing it the right way. But it becomes a cycle. Because I'm telling you, I have seen provide. I worked at a place where they had nurse practitioners. I have nothing against a nurse, but I see a nurse practitioner. I'm not talking about their level of education. I'm talking about their level of documentation and being accountable for what you write.
Mm-hmm.
I had a nurse practitioner who documented in her assessment BPH with lower urinary tract symptoms. When you go to N40.1 in the tabular, there's an instructional note to use an additional code to describe the lower urinary tract symptom, and they have several listed. In the review of systems, they were listed, but not in the HPI and not in the assessment. Those are the only two places coders can code from. You cannot code from the review of systems. So when I sent a query, what she did, she went into the note and just deleted the code altogether from the assessment. That's not. Mm-mm.
That does not solve the problem.
But it goes back to what we said earlier, what you were talking about earlier about validating patient conditions. She was in the patient's house. The patient said that's what they had. So how she can? There's no test to verify it. There's no bladder scan to see that this person has 300 cc's residual urine. So basically she's like, well, look, this is what he said, so I'm not getting caught up in it. That's the problem.
The whole problem. All of the things. So I'm like, and I agree with you. Physicians sometimes are dealt a crazy hand, but you gotta work. I listened to a sermon the other day. No, it was at a funeral, and the minister talked about playing the hand that you've been dealt. So even if you've been dealt a crazy hand and you have the worst of the worst now providing you training on your documentation, you got training before. You received some training on how to document. You know what's right and what's wrong. Again, you have a responsibility. Some folks need to take accountability and responsibility for their actions and either what they do or what they don't do. Let's start there.
But you know what? But if nobody explains to this nurse practitioner that deleting the code is not really the answer, and doesn't give him or her the proper education, how are they going to know?
Then somebody needs to do that. So again, what? Why would you even think? Oh, I just removed this, and what? Really?
Because I'm telling you, in that moment, all they're thinking about is,
I'm trying to get away from you,
and I'm not trying to deal with this. So let's just get rid of it.
Oh, Lord, we got so much work to do. We got so much work to do. Okay, let's see. Good morning, LaShanta. Good morning, Vicky. So here's a question. What's a good place to start if I never did risk adjustment before?
You want me to weigh in?
You can.
Okay.
You the risk adjustment guru here on the line.
I recommend that anybody who is interested in risk adjustment, especially if you are already a coder, go to AAPC, because most coders are members of AAPC. They got some kind of AAPC credential.
Mm-hmm.
Get the Risk Adjustment Coder Study Guide. It's about 9 chapters. Most of the chapters as a coder you won't need to know, but it gives you the real nuts and bolts of risk adjustment. Plus, go to the CMS website.
Mm-hmm.
Those would be because the CMS website also has an Excel spreadsheet that you can download every year. That's like a crosswalk.
Mm-hmm.
And you can become familiar with all of the HCC codes. You can just go in and play around.
Mm-hmm.
Put in a code, hit enter. If it matches, it'll go to that row. If it doesn't match, it'll say not found. And then you'll see whether it's a risk adjustable code, what year, what version of risk adjustment it is, whether it's version 22, version 23, version 24, whether it's an RX HCC for Farm D audits, for Medicare Part D audits. It is just a valuable resource. So those 2 resources I highly recommend.
Appreciate you. So she also says, so basically what you're saying is we need to add risk adjustments to our business plan. Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. Because
Absolutely.
People don't realize once you understand the methodology, risk adjustment from a coding standpoint is so easy because you don't have to deal with GERD. You don't have to deal with hyperlipidemia. You don't have to worry about gout. I mean, unless it's a certain type of gout, I think they
Right.
risk adjust.
Right.
But you don't have to worry about like history of. You don't have, unless like there you do have to worry about pressure ulcers. You do those kind of, especially pressure ulcers. Like that's a big deal. That's a big deal across the board.
Across the board
But
forever.
you don't have to like, and especially if you can find a risk adjustment salary job, which they are out there, that is the brass rail. Because this place, they were sketchy, they got caught up, but I had a I worked for them. It was a salary position. We only had to do 15 charts a day. Now coming from Enovalon, which is the Marine boot camp of coding,
Mm-hmm.
I no lie, I would work from 8 to 12. I would have my 15 charts done by noon. I would have my computer on. I had my laptop on the bed in case I got an email. I was chilling.
It was the job. It was the gravy that everybody's
And
looking for.
especially as long as your accuracy is where
If
it
your
needs to be, they
accuracy,
don't
they're not gonna bother
you.
you. They're not gonna bother you at all. You
Mhm.
done your part. Let's see. She also says one doctor told me his doctor told him not to talk to coders because of his blood pressure.
I can believe it. I can believe it.
Well, what about our damn blood pressure? Hold up, because
Because all they worried about, because every time you tell them you can't code that, they're thinking, I gotta pay my country club dues.
But wait, if they're in an organization, it don't even trickle down to them like that. It don't affect them that way because you're gonna get paid regardless. You on salary.
Oh, no, no. Some of them get bonuses.
You get bonuses, but you still get a base salary. Don't do that.
Right.
You get a base salary. Now it may affect your bonus structure if you don't meet your RVUs and I don't know if they're putting HCC pieces into these contracts, but I know RVUs was the thing, the way to go. You got to get a certain number of RVUs in order to, and most of the time it was tiered. So at this tier, this is your bonus. If you meet this tier, this is your bonus. And if you meet this max tier, ding, 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 the roof is on fire. You get it all. You get it all. Now, one thing Dr. Hirsch said that I was saying I didn't agree with was that your diagnosis, that your Enem code, your diagnosis didn't have anything to do with the Enem code. I disagree. It does in different ways. Now, your Enem, we all know, but hopefully, especially if you're a coder, you know that there have been changes in how you calculate your Enem code. And primarily, well, there are two ways. You either do it on time, which is a whole bunch of, I'm waiting for them audits to hit. Woo, baby. Money is about to be flowing, but that's neither here nor there. The other way is using medical decision making. And one of the factors or components of medical decision making is the number of diagnostic options or the number of diagnoses or what's going on. What is the clinical picture of that patient? Now, there are additional credits, points, because it's all kind of still using a point system, if you will, for the severity of the diagnosis. So you can, there's a thing with the amount, so you can have a number, but then they're also looking at the severity. Again, all of that has to be documented in the medical record. Now, that's across the board, regardless whether it's tradition, regardless of anybody's payer. You don't even have to be on Medicare. You can be on Medicaid. You can be on any your work insurance, whoever, any commercial payer. That's across the board, regardless. Now, this is specific to Medicare, Medicare Advantage. I want to say Medicaid Advantage too, but that's a whole other animal because it varies by state. But you still, at the end of the day, as a provider, your responsibility is to make sure that you are providing the service to that patient based on the presentation of that patient, and I'm speaking outpatient, on that date of service. Well, even it doesn't even matter, because even in hospital, the physician still bills. And so you're looking at whatever is happening to that patient in that bed at that date of service. That's what you're billing that insurance carrier for. So it's your responsibility, sir, ma'am, physician, nurse practitioner, any clinician who's billing. It's your responsibility to make sure that you are describing and documenting what you're seeing, and your medical decision making based on your assessment of that patient in the medical record. Period. That's, you got one job. Well, really two. Really two. You need to see the patient and then you need to document. So you got two jobs. But that documentation is what justifies and supports the first job of what you see in it, so that you can get paid for doing what you do. Now, yeah, they're gonna pay you. They're gonna pay you, but will you get to keep it? And or not have to add additional funds? And because you see, just the number went from I think there was $509,000 in overpayment, but it was extrapolated. So extrapolated means we see a pattern here. And according to our calculations, you had X number of these types of cases that were wrong. So for over this course of a year, if you got this many cases that are wrong in a course of this month, times 12, times the year, times however many years we're looking at, times however much the money is that it costs to that we paid you, voila, you're looking at $5.9 million. That's extrapolation all day.
Oh, and then remember when we covered last year, University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, how they were in it with CMS, and then they had the nerve to try to come for the credentials of the
auditor. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because if you any auditor worth your weight in gold, you got, you know your stuff. You got black and white documentation. Let me tell you why this is this and that and so. You're not just making that stuff off the top of your head. That's why I said the rules are the rules, and they're there for you to view. If you don't want to listen to the compliance person, if you don't want to listen to the coder, if you don't want to listen to the CDI person, if you don't want to listen to anybody, go read it for yourself. The rules are there. The rules are the rules.
And you don't have to have a CRC to know risk adjustment coding. People can be taught it. And I know some people who have their CRC. And if you're a provider and listen to them, you're going to have to pay back a lot of money or you're going to be in jail. So they're not the ones you want to listen to either.
So, I mean, they don't put this information out for their help. They put this information out to help you. Here is the information. You are being and cry me a river with this. Oh, that is so much work. It's too much work. That's why we might not want to take care of these types of patients. That's garbage. First of all, if you're working for a system, I'm quite sure, if you're working for a public system or you're working for a nonprofit, you're obligated. So don't kill me with that. Kill me with that. You're obligated to see these types of patients. Now, there may be a percentage, but you're still obligated. So don't do that. You're not going anywhere. No time soon. So just do the right thing. The rules are the rules. Follow the rules. I'm like, oh my God. Let's see what she says. Go ahead.
Asha has a question in the Clubhouse chat. She said, Jesse, you don't need the certification. If you are already CPC certified, you can learn risk adjustment. You know, as long as you can demonstrate the skill, and a lot of risk adjustment places will give you a test. As long as you demonstrate that you have the knowledge, no.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So when I saw that's what that audit from the University of Pennsylvania that we saw where they questioned the auditors. That let me know because it said they were contracted auditors. I said, bing, 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 here we go. There we go. Right there.
But the last disclaimer I'll say about the whole CRC. If you are CPC certified or have other credentials, if you want to get your CRC, once you understand the methodology, because everything is about, well, not everything, but a lot of things come down to money. Once you understand the methodology and the format of how it works, it is not a difficult exam. So if you want to get it just to have it,
it won't hurt. Right.
No.
Right.
And you'll be able to breeze through it.
Right. You're welcome, Asha. Yeah. So when I was reading that, and so of course they were going all around, and they want to talk about, the actual case of the person at the patient's home and all of the things. And I was like, y'all missing the whole point, because at the end of the day, your documentation should support whatever. And as I clearly laid the table, it tells you, provider, you need to document whatever is going on with that patient. And then they send that information to the Medicare Advantage program. Who is responsible? Who contracts with CMS? And so they have to send your stuff. Now, one of the questions, I guess, is because the Medicare Advantage, they're not going to look at every record. They're not going to do that. Now, they do have these audits. They're audits that they provide and they perform. And just like when I don't even know if people still doing that. So I ain't even, like, are they balancing their checkbook? Like when you get the stuff, you balance your check. People might not even be doing that, or balance just your account or whatever. But just how you want to make sure your stuff is right. So you go and let me do a quick review. Let me do a quick audit of my stuff to make sure. Somebody should be doing that at the provider level. Somebody should be doing that in the Medicare Advantage. Somebody should be doing that. Now, Medicare Advantage will tap on you and be like, ma'am and sir, I need to see so many records and let's do an audit. I'm sure they're doing the RAV D audit, or RAD V audit. So I'm sure they're doing those things. Now, I don't know what the results are and what people, are they paying attention to the results, or what? I don't know what's happening in that space with these providers, but people we talked about this all the time. People are looking, they're watching you, they're looking to see what is what. Now, I think the Medicare Advantage organizations is probably like, well, wait a minute, I didn't do whatever, it was them. But you're responsible for that. You contracted with them. So you have a duty. You the gatekeeper, if you will. You're the middleman at that point, because you're getting money and you're paying money in advance. Now, if you want to make sure that the money that you pay in advance, that you're getting your return on your money, then you need to do your due diligence and make sure that these people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. That's your job. Everybody got a job here. Do your job. Should I get off my soapbox now? I was like, oh my God, when I saw that. And this is not the first one, and it won't be the last. Like I said, we saw the ones before where they want to talk about, and I think the university, that was from the provider perspective. These are actually from the Medicare Advantage perspective, and they just want to be like, we don't agree with your methodology. We don't agree with the extrapolation, and we don't agree with your requirements. They want to throw all those. But you agreed when you signed your name on that contract.
Every time I think about risk adjustment and all of the shenanigans, I think about Lauryn Hill, and she said it best in the X Factor. It could all be so simple, but you'd rather make it hard.
You better say that again. That's the quotable for the day. Yes. It could all be so simple. Let me get my pipes together so I can belt that out. No, I'm kidding. But you're absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Wait a minute. See, I didn't learn how to do something new over here on Clubhouse, so that's why I'm playing. But anyway, absolutely correct. It could all be so simple. The rules are the rules, period. Like, even outside of healthcare. Like I was watching, I watch, what's this show? Don't judge me. BMF. And they go about, all this extravagant lifestyle. But at the end of the day, you, sir, ma'am, entourage, y'all breaking the law. The law is the law. The rules are the rules. Yeah, it looks good, glad, glitzy, and you doing all of the stuff around, skirting around. We trying to figure out ways around and loopholes or whatever. The law is the law. The rules are the rules. Stop playing.
That's just like, well, see, and then, well, first of all, healthcare is rule city. There's rules for everything.
Everything.
And I worked for an employer, and you know us, we're just natural diggers, and we know the rules. So I was asking because I'm like, wait a minute, you're getting referrals strictly from this insurance company, this insurance provider, and they were also an investor in this company. So I asked the question. I'm like, do y'all have a safe harbor agreement? Because that's like kickbacks.
Oh, Lord.
Let's just say it was the beginning of the end. But is that not true?
That's the truth. That is the truth. All of the things. And I'm always like, okay, these are the top things that the OIG are looking at. Let's start there and work our way down. Work our way down. Are we on point with this? Is everybody okay? Let's make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do related to this. If we good, check. Go to the next thing. And we know we're gonna find a problem. So wherever it is that we have to find the problem, that's where our attention is going to be. That's where we're going to expend our resources to make sure that we correct these problems. Period. Because you don't want this heat. You don't want this OIG heat on you.
No, they don't. Because they don't let up.
They don't.
Because when they are worse than, look, when they smell blood,
they like, oh,
you're done for.
We got it. Look, yeah, we didn't spend all of this money, but guess how much money we about to get back? Guess how much money we about to get back? And I want to be part of the game. So learn the rules. And
at the end of the day, it is our tax money.
It's our tax money. You're absolutely correct. It's our tax money. And I mean, if you are working in an organization, you have a responsibility to help, to say, when you see something, say something. Hey, this don't look right. This out of order. Maybe this is the reason why. This is what, again, I'm always about making sure you're marketable. This is how you market yourself in knowing this information. This is how you market yourself to say, you know what? Yeah, I may be production coder today, and I may be fine with being production coder. However, I want this company to still be in business until I retire or whatever. So let me make sure I'm helping these people stay in business. If you want to look at it that way.
Right.
Like, oh my goodness. Like there's a lot, but they tell you. I could see if they were playing the game. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, Medicare can every year, though, again, you have an opportunity to weigh in on what they're changing or what they're looking at or how they want to shift different things. They provide comment periods for you to say, you know what, that is off the chain. Nobody is doing XYZ, blah, 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 blah. You have to be flexible. This is one of those careers and professions where you have to be a lifelong learner and learning these rules and then knowing that rule may change the next year, whatever. But then it's still your responsibility to make sure that you're telling the people, hey, these rules have changed. And as a side note, I think I released a video yesterday about CPT codes that have been changed. So there's a whole errata. And not only have they changed, and it's not the actual procedures resulting in those CPT codes, but it's just technical errors and some stuff that they forgot to put in and stuff that they didn't add. And so there's some errors on there. And so I go through all of those things, even on the Enem thing. So if you got the Enem companion booklet, there's some errors that need to be changed on that. And so they're constantly doing that. So they already had released their errors, the errata, in November. Well, lo and behold, there was some more, and they released it some more at the end of December. And so I'm sure they're still looking and can release some more. So it's your responsibility to make sure you're going out and checking those documents. Let me see, make sure. ICD-10 had an error too, a big error. Again, it's your responsibility to make sure that, because it's new in the year, it's new in the game. You have to catch those things and correct those things, and then tell somebody, educate the rest of the masses, so that everybody is on the same page.
Definitely.
Okay, Nicole, I saw her comment. All right. Yeah. So the rules are the rules. That's all. And then to your point, it could all be so simple. I see I should have called you last night. That could have been the title of this. It could all be so simple.
Because because I tell people, like, I even tell my students, because they want to, because they get to a point where they want to what if everything.
Mm-hmm.
What about this? What about? So I tell them there comes a time in every class I say, listen, I don't make the rules. I get paid to follow the rules.
That's right. That's right. And if you're in healthcare, you get paid to follow the rules, period. Any job that you're doing, you get paid to follow the rules. Period. Because there's, like you said, it's all rule-based, all regulation, guidelines, and rule-based. So this was good. This was good. Even though I felt my blood pressure rising, but this was good. This was good. So I hope this was, helpful, in kind of understanding why we bring to light, because we have been bringing to light a lot of the OIG audits and such. But this is how you learn. This is how you determine, what things do I need to focus on? Because you can take this information, you see the 10 high-risk areas that they're looking at, take this back to your organization and validate and verify that your stuff is on point. Are we doing this correctly? Do we have a problem? Yeah. And then, of course, if take it to your compliance staff, because they may determine whether or not, you might have a repayment that happens and you may need to self-disclose and so on and so forth. That's a whole other discussion. But at least you do your due diligence to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do within your organizations.
Well, that's right.
Yes. So this was good.
It was.
This was
good. Before I know we get ready to wrap up, but I have been meaning to say for the whole show, I'm loving that green sweater.
Thank you. I love cardigans and I wear them all the time. And I happen to find this green, and I said, well, look at here. So thank you.
and the nails. I'm like,
oh. We trying to get ready in 2023. Well, thank you. Appreciate you. And again, it's so good seeing you here. Next week, actually, so let me tell you what happened to me the other day. I was driving on the highway and a rock hit my windshield. And so I got to repair my windshield. But
okay.
So it's tomorrow, 8:00. However, sir, you've been elevated. You've been promoted. So if you choose to open up this room and have this Saturday morning tea, it's truly on you. And I can just jump in and listen to you. So we'll talk about that this week. If that's what you want to do.
I can't do it without you.
Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, so or maybe we'll push it back, or maybe we'll do something different. I don't know. It depends on what happens in the world of healthcare and if there's something burning that we need. I know that's right. New year, new Clarice. All right. Y'all funny. So we'll work something out. If not, then we'll miss a week and we'll come back on the following week.
All right.
Okay. So again, thank you all for joining the Saturday morning tea. Let me just ask, was the tea spilled today? Was it spilled?
Absolutely.
Did you learn something? I hope that there was some valuable information that you learned something. I know I learned something. Just, setting the table like, oh, This is why all of this makes sense. And this is why they're doing what they're doing. And even enlighten me to say, okay, well, here goes some low-lying fruit because they laying it out for you. Don't play.
That's right.
Have the conversations.
Look into risk adjustment for 2023.
And he told me, yes, and I have that written down on my paper, risk adjustment. I do have the book. I don't have the study guide, but I have the risk adjustment, that manual.
And for anybody listening, if you are going to consider risk adjustment, don't work for agencies or for contracts.
Let me get my
don't. They're the worst. They're worse than the regular people. They really are.
Unless you're working for me under contract. Wait, don't do that.
Unless. But the ones you see on Indeed, stay away.
No, we won't even be doing that. Indeed, we got too many connections across the world.
That's right.
We got too many connections across the world, and so we know some people that know some people that know some good people. So yeah,
Absolutely.
That's where we're going. That's where we're going.
It's going to be. Have you heard?
Have you heard? Have you heard? Right. I'm excited. Oh, okay. So if this information was valuable for you, help us share this message with others by sharing the video. And sharing the video. You can also like the video and, of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also hit our club over there on the Clubhouse so that you can join in on the fun. Have you seen the houses? I haven't gotten involved with the houses, and I don't know how deep I want to do the houses. We may do a house thing where you can have like the board, as we gonna call them, the board come in and just chop it up. But that'll be a private thing. Maybe we'll do something on a private level.
Okay.
On a private subscription level. It's time to monetize some things. It's time to monetize some things. Where the money reside. Okay.
Okay.
We've given a lot of value. We give a lot of value every time we come on here. So it's yeah. Okay. We could take it a little further, but you might have to give a little coin or two. Okay.
I'm all about the quotes today. I gotta quote Khalees. I could teach you, but I have to charge.
Sir. Is he on the quotes for today? Is he on the quotes? See, I my milkshake, yes. Yeah. My information bring all y'all to the yard, yes. See. I cannot with you. You're back. He's back.
Yes.
Don't forget to check out the Coding Nurse channel on YouTube. Valuable information over there. Do you do more on YouTube? Or do you do more on Instagram? Where you want them to go? We can plug it out.
I really want them to go to YouTube because I was under the weather for a minute and my YouTube but I got to get it back. But I really want people to go to YouTube. Yes. And I need to get my subscription up. So go to YouTube.
Get a subscription up. So once his subscription comes up, it's easier for me to connect these videos over there so you can watch them in these places. So right. Yes. So go to YouTube and help get our subscriptions. We're trying to get the subscribers up, both of us. He has to go. I got millions to go. I believe everybody needs to hear this information. So tell somebody, even if you never watch a video, just subscribe. One day you may watch. Something may come across and you'll be like, well really? I didn't know. I see my little finger. I've been popping my fingers doing my little line dance classes. I done split my finger. Like we've been dancing over here. So all of the things happen. You never know what I may be doing.
That's right.
Okay, so let's see. I already told you Clubhouse, check the greenhouse to join the fun. So you'll be notified of our broadcast. And if you subscribe to the channel, make sure you hit the bell so you're also notified when we go live. So this has been a great session today. Like I said, you never know where you're going to get some content. Vicky said, yes, the tea was spilled. You never know where you're going to get some content and what folks be talking about. And they'll be like, but are they talking right? Or are they talking outside of their neck? What? No. And so I want us to make sure that we are informed. We are informed about all of the things. So that's why we
That's
have
right.
these sessions here. So this was great. Thank you all for joining. And remember, be safe, be kind, and don't wish for it, work for it. Until next time, take care and have a great weekend.
Oh, don't forget we're gonna talk offline.
I know. I'll be on. Oh.